Run. This is Anna. Today is a very special day. Today is Veterans Day. On Veterans Day, we take time to thank and honor veterans that have served in the armed forces, which include the Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force. We're going to start off by hearing from Mrs. Fouch, who will show a little bit of the history and purpose of Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day, Indian Run, November 11th, 2021. And let's talk a little bit about why we're celebrating Veterans Day. And in order to discuss that, we need to talk about what a veteran is. So a veteran is any man or woman that has served in our armed forces. And armed forces, there's another name for armed forces, is our military. And our military protects and keeps our country safe. So we're so thankful for the men and women who over the years have served in our armed forces. There are 7 branches or 7 parts of our military. They're the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, and our newest, Mr. Kaufman's favorite, Space Force. Now, a little bit about Veterans Day. Veterans Day was not always called Veterans Day. It wasn't even always celebrated on November 11th, but let's talk a little bit about the history. So we have to go back, and way back over 100 years ago, in 1914, there was a big war, and it was called World War I. And the United States teamed up with some other countries, and we fought Germany in that war. And that war lasted 4 years, and it was a really hard time on our country. And so Americans were really happy when that war was over. And that war was over in 1918 when an armistice was signed. So you might say to yourself, Mrs. Fouch, what is an armistice? Well, an armistice is just an agreement between 2 sides to stop fighting and to come to a peaceful end to a war. So after World War I, when that armistice was signed, Americans were really happy because there was a peaceful end to World War I. And a year later, the president of our country, Woodrow Wilson, he decided, let's celebrate the ending of World War I, and we're going to call it Armistice Day. It's going to be a national holiday, and on the 11th month, the 11th day, on the 11th hour, the country paused for a bit to remember all the soldiers that fought in World War I, and that was in the year 1919. And so then every year after that, they celebrated with parades and had that moment of silence just to remember those soldiers. In 1954, that name of the holiday got changed to Veterans Day because we decided that it was important to celebrate all veterans, not just the veterans of World War I, veterans that have served in all of our wars, and even if they didn't get deployed in a war, it was really important that we took time to celebrate and say thank you to the veterans who keep us safe and keep America safe and have protected us. Happy Veterans Day today, and enjoy the day.
Thank you, Mrs. Fouch. You're a wealth of knowledge. Here at Indian Run, there are many families that have veteran connections, either within their own family or close friends and neighbors. Let's take a look and celebrate these veterans.
And now it's time to share about and honor the many veterans who have connections with Indian Run. John Stock served in the Navy from 1951 to 1955. He is the grandfather of Maria in 5th grade. He chose to be in the Navy Seabees because his older brother served during World War II as a Navy Seabee. Tommy Wireman served his country in the Air Force from 1997 to 2001. He was assigned to the 354th Fighter Squadron and served out of Kuwait in support of Operation Southern Watch. Tommy is the uncle of Abigail in 4th grade. Anthony in 3rd grade and Audrey in 1st grade have 3 family members who were in the Army. Joseph Schoner, their great-grandfather, served during World War II. Another great-grandfather, Michael Tizzano, also fought in World War II. Their grandfather, Donald Schoner, served during the Vietnam War. Philip Barth, Mrs. Buzzard's dad, served as a mechanic in the Army on a fleet of the general's vehicles. Lance Corporal Gerald Coniglio is the father of Sammy, who is in first grade. He served in the U.S. Marine Corps. Raymond Eady served in the Marines. He is the father of Caroline in second grade. James Bomer is the grandfather of second grader Evelyn. He served in the Army during the Vietnam War. Evelyn's uncle, Michael Bomer, served in active duty in the Air Force in Afghanistan and Iraq. Tim Bowsman served in the Army in Vietnam. Mr. Bowsman is the grandfather of Arya, who is in first grade. Jordan, in third grade, has an uncle and grandfather who are veterans. William Peake, Jordan's uncle, served in the Air Force from 1992 to 2001. Ed Warner, Jordan's grandfather, served in the Army. Ms. Schwerking has two family members who were in the armed forces. In this photo, her father, James Schwerking, was stationed in Germany during the Vietnam War. Her grandfather, William Smith, served in the Army during the Korean War. Matt Eichmann attended the Naval Academy and then joined the Marine Corps. Mr. Eichmann is the father of Atlee in first grade. Fourth grader Jackson's uncle, Craig Elwar, served in the armed forces. He was in the Army. John Fox was in the Navy. He is the grandfather of Ryan in fifth grade. Another one of Ryan's grandfathers, Paul Lambert, served in the Army. Ryan also has a cousin, Evan Harris, who served in the Air Force. Heath Salva is the father of Nash, who is in first grade. He served in the Army. Nicole in third grade and Ryan in first grade have several family members who were in the armed forces. Their grandfather, James T. Sauce Sr., served in the Army during the Cold War. Bodan Knick is the late uncle to Nicole and Ryan, and he served in the Air Force during the Vietnam War. Their late great-grandfather, Ross R. Black, fought during World War II in the Navy. This is their wedding photo just before leaving for war. James M. Schiff served in the Navy. He is the grandfather of Josie, a first grader at Indian Run. Another grandfather who served is Mike Finnan. He was in the Army. Shane White is the father of Jamar, who was in kindergarten. Mr. White served in the Marine Corps. Reagan, in fourth grade, also had two grandfathers who were in the armed forces. Larry Braden served in the Navy, and Robert Burns was in the Air Force. Nick Grunegan was a sergeant in the Army. His daughter is Kaylin in fifth grade. William Myers II is in the Army. He is the father of Jack, who is in kindergarten. To all the men and women who have served, are serving, and will serve our country, thank you.
Now we're going to move on to hear from one of my all-time favorite humans, my mom, Jenny Rosansky, who will share a little bit about my dad, Army Captain Nicholas Rosansky.
Captain Nicholas Rosansky was in the Ohio Army National Guard for almost 9 years. It was the Ohio Army National Guard, but he was not based in Columbus. He was based out of Perrysburg, kind of close to Toledo. He grew up in Dublin. He actually grew up across the street in Waterford Village, which a lot of you might live there as well. He went to Sells Middle School, and then he graduated from Dublin High School, which is now Dublin Kaufman High School, in 1994. He also played club soccer and coached club soccer in Dublin for many years, too. After high school, Nick attended The Ohio State University, and he got a degree in communication. And then at the age of 27, decided to join the Ohio Army National Guard. So at that point, he left his family here in Columbus and went out to Oklahoma for training, and he was there for about 6 months or so. Nick and I were dating during his training, so I sent him a lot of letters and cards and things to keep his spirits up and to show him that we were still thinking about him back here in Columbus. And then when he came back, that was about the time he got a job with the National Guard and we got married. My oldest daughter, Emma, who's an 8th grader at Sells Middle School, was born in 2007, and about 4 months after she was born, Nick left for his deployment to Iraq. He came back when she was about 1.5 years, and that was a little adjustment for our family since he had missed so much of her, and he was kind of a new person to her at that point. But they quickly became father and daughter and bonded, and everyone was happy. Shortly after that deployment, we heard that there was another deployment on the horizon. And at that time, we had 2 daughters. So I also had Anna, who was a 5th grader here at Indian Run. And when he left for Afghanistan, the girls were 1 and 4. So at that point, we did have smartphone technology. So we were able to do a little bit of FaceTiming with him over in Afghanistan, which is really kind of amazing that we could have in-person communication and that he could see some of the things the girls were doing. It was very hard for me to be home with both of my daughters who were very little, plus I also was working and had a job. So we were very lucky that we had a lot of family support in the area. The girls' grandparents helped out a lot with things that we needed done around the house and taking care of them. So the Afghanistan deployment was Nick's final deployment. On April 4th, 2012, Nick gave the ultimate sacrifice, meaning he did not come home from Afghanistan. So after he died, we had a lot of support from the Dublin community in a lot of different ways. And on the day of his funeral, even the students at Indian Run lined the streets to honor and show their support of him and our family. Today we honor him. Shortly after Nick died, his family and friends set up a foundation, the Nick Rosansky Memorial Foundation, that we support other veteran organizations in Ohio, as well as some Dublin City School students who are seniors with scholarships. The girls and I visit the cemetery often since it's right by our house. We plant flowers and go there. And probably the most important way that we honor him is to continue to tell his story and tell about him so he's never forgotten. Veterans Day is special to me because it is a day that we honor all veterans who have served our country, whether they came back or whether they didn't. They're all on our hearts and minds that day.
As you can see, my family and many others have proud veteran connections. Veterans are the ones who gave us freedom to go about our day-to-day life without any fear or worry. Take some time today, or even better, any day, to thank a veteran.
Thank you, veterans, and happy Veterans Day. Bye!